So pleased to have Dona Fragnoli with me today. She's involved with Schenectady Bridges. I'm going to let her tell us what Schenectady Bridges are because I think what you're doing is incredibly good.
Yeah. Thank you, Ann. Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to be here. It's a real honor to be here and to talk about this fabulous program. Schenectady Bridges is part of a nationwide initiative under a company called the AHA process, as in, aha, yes, I just had this moment. I never thought of it like that before. And Bridges Out of Poverty is a program that exists to help people who work with those in poverty, to work with them in a way that allows them to be more effective and efficient at what they're already doing. There's so many people, like your daughter works at Schenectady ARC. Mm-hmm. She was in one of our trainings earlier this year, and there's a lot of people out there who are really working very hard to make a difference in our community and to make a difference for individuals. And there's a lot of right and wonderful things going on, but what Bridges Out of Poverty does is it allows people to look at what's going on with people in poverty through a different lens. We define poverty for Bridges Out of Poverty as the extent to which an individual, community, or organization does without resources.
And that's important because as resources are drying up and there's more people looking for support, more organizations looking for support, we have to realize that without money, we've still got to move forward.
Exactly, and it's so much more than money. We have a chart about resources. If you'll put that up, I'll speak to that just a moment. People who are in poverty, it's not specifically necessarily about financial. When you look at this chart, you see that there are 12 different resources that come together to make us all self-sustaining and to make us all be able to be resilient and to move forward with our lives. So we can give someone in poverty who's struggling, who has been in generational poverty, a large amount of money, and we see this sometimes in the public world. And those people, folks oftentimes aren't able to maintain that level because there's so much more to people who most especially have been in generational poverty. There's so much more. There's the spiritual aspect. There's the hidden rules. There's hidden rules in our society that we don't even realize. So for instance, I came from Tennessee. Met my husband, great guy. We've been married 30 years. We moved up here. At a funeral home in Tennessee, when you go to a funeral, you take food when you go to the funeral home. Each funeral parlor has kitchens.
Oh, really?
And yes, and you bring food for the family. It sustains them during the 4 or 5 hours they're there, and then they take it home. So fast forward, I move up here 30 years ago. My husband's uncle died. I know what to do. I take baked beans to the funeral home.
And they go, what on
exactly,
earth is this?
Exactly. So was I wrong?
No.
But my rules of my society and my culture were different, and I didn't understand that. And that's exactly...
And it changes throughout the United States.
Exactly.
Customs.
Exactly. And so we see that with poverty, with middle class, and with wealth as well. There are sets of hidden rules for each group. And what we do is we help people understand what those hidden rules are, identify those, and then be able to move through those different worlds, if you will, in a more effective and efficient way.
And people that are in poverty might have just moved to the area, so they don't know the hidden rules. They've got their own problems. Where do I shop? Where do I get services? So you train people that are involved in organizations?
Yes, we train any multiple organizations. We've done quite a bit of training this year, a lot of training. We've been really honored to have some groups from the New York State Department of Health. We've had multiple agencies throughout the Capital District, Saratoga. We even went up to Queensbury recently. It's really been really wonderful. So a lot of people are doing some really wonderful things to help those in poverty. And as I said, we just want to help them do it more efficiently and effectively through utilizing the constructs, the Bridges constructs, the ideas, the thought processes.
How you get the name is Bridges because you're working.
You're making a bridge. And and the bridge goes both ways. So people who are working to help those in poverty and people in poverty. We actually have another program called the Getting Ahead program.
And that was, your other guest was going to be speaking to that, right?
Yes,
Eddie?
one of our lead facilitators was unable to be here today, Eddie Polanco, but he leads the Getting Ahead program. And what that is it's Bridges Out of Poverty for people who are in poverty. So we teach the same constructs to folks who are living and struggling with poverty, with a lack of resources. And we help those folks look at their life in a different way to be able to move towards sustainability. And it's really fascinating because a lot of times we think people in poverty, maybe they're, why do they do that? Why don't they just? When you start a sentence, why don't they just?
I mean, sometimes it's simply circumstances.
Exactly, or a lack of understanding how to get out. It's a trap. It's a trap.
And you can't, it's like no matter what you do. And one of the things, and I hope that you address that, is these like payday lending and all those things that create more poverty because they find that, from what I've heard, is that women in the majority of these payday lenders or these loan on your paycheck or whatever it is are women that are struggling, and then they find themselves in a deeper hole.
Exactly. And what we see, if you think about a neighborhood that's poverty stricken, it's kind of a mental model of a neighborhood that's just full of poverty. And you look around, what do you see? You see predatory lending, you see furniture, computers, organizations that will rent those household items at a very high price.
Oh, yeah. Don't you
see,
love those?
You see the corner stores, the bodegas. Now, those can go both ways.
Yeah.
We also have food deserts in our poverty-stricken.
No fresh food.
There's no fresh foods. We have these corner stores serve a great purpose. They do a great thing. I don't want to say that that's a bad thing. However, it costs a lot more money to buy your food that way. But one of the things people don't think about, folks in poverty, transportation is a very different issue.
Much.
And we'll take the bus. Well, it's $1.50.
Maybe
And you know what? Maybe I
$1.50.
don't have $1.50. And I have to walk, and so I go to the corner store. And it's a whole different world. And when we understand the struggles that people are dealing with in a way from their perspective, from people who are struggling, when we look at the perspective of people who are struggling, we reach out to them in a different way. We come alongside people. That's what we encourage.
Because now you understand.
Exactly.
Because they're able to tell you, look, I know you said I should take a bus, but listen, that's $1.50 each way or whatever it is, and that's $3, and I don't have $3 a day to do that, but I'm still, if I want to try and get a job or I want to do something, I have to get to the doctor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have someone shared a story once that really was fascinating to me. When he was 17 in New York City, his girlfriend became pregnant. And he lived in generational poverty. And his mother said, okay, well, you need to go here and get this resource, and you need to go here, and you need to get this benefit, and you got to go sign up for this and sign up for food stamps. And to someone in middle class or wealth, that sounds like, well, come on, why don't you tell him to get a job?
Yeah.
But he said, she taught me what she knew.
Yeah, that's all she knew.
That's what she knew. She did the best she could for me.
Yeah.
And
She
when
was
we
trying
look
to
at
help.
it, exactly. It's
Yeah.
a very different perspective.
Yeah, and it keeps you in that generational poverty that you're talking about.
Exactly.
Well, I think you're doing some wonderful work, but before I say goodbye, I want to tell you who's coming up next week. We have an author coming on, Celia Thomas, While Waiting for Change, and we're talking about domestic violence, which I'm sure comes into your picture as well. Comic-Con is Schenectady Library. Oh, what a great event that is. And Derek Horton and the J Street Band will be performing on our stage. And Proctor's Historical Committee will be talking to them. And of course, Summer Night is coming up in Schenectady. Donna, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. And I'm so interested in what you're doing because it's reaching out to organizations and the people involved to make lives better for people in poverty.
Thank you, Ann.
Yes. I'm Ann Perillo. Thank you for watching Schenectady Today.